Hey everybody, my name is Brooke Burks and welcome to my messy kitchen. We are so pleased to have you here with us today. We are going to show you one of the simplest methods of making cornbread, but it can also be very tricky. This is one of the South's most beloved forms of cornbread, and it's lace cornbread. And what that means that it's fried, but it's fried very thin so that it almost has little holes in it, which makes it look like lace. Now, there is a little finesse required to this. The difficulty is not in the recipe at all. The difficulty is just staying with it and pushing through. And if you mess a piece up, just make another. So we're going to show you how a little muscle in the kitchen with a little perseverance can get you some of the best, most crispy, angelic, lacy cornbread that you will ever taste. And we are going to show you how simple that it really is. So I'm going to turn my burner on and get my heat started. And then we, in a large skillet, are going to melt 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of bacon grease. Now, we want to get those nice and hot so that the bottom of our pan is covered. And then while that's happening, we're gonna mix up the cornbread, and we're gonna show you how to do that now. So we start out with about ½ a cup of cornmeal mix. You can use self-rising, you can use plain cornmeal, you can use just regular ground, stone ground cornmeal if you want. It does not matter because this is a flat, this is a thin cornbread that we're about to make. Let me turn my heat up just a little bit. And it's equal parts of cornmeal and water. So it's very simple to remember. We're gonna put in ½ a cup of water to ½ a cup of our cornmeal. And we're just gonna mix those until combined. And it's gonna look really thin, but that's okay, because that's kind of how we want it. You don't want it too thick. See, your consistency is just that of almost cornbread in milk. And if you find that your cornmeal mix swells a little too much and gets a little too thick, then that's gonna make a fried cornbread cake. So I always keep a little bit of water nearby just to make sure that that consistency is how we want it, because sometimes whenever you fry it up, it will kind of get thick as it stands. So I might add a little water, about a teaspoon at a time, to it. It's really simple. Now with the same measuring cup that I used before, I'm just gonna get a little bit of that cornmeal mixture, and while the grease is hot, I'm just going to pour that in a circular motion. And you don't want to do this, have too many in there at a time, because your grease will actually get too cool. But immediately you can start see the little holes which make it the lacy cornbread start to form. Now you can make these as small or as large as you wish. Danny likes them pretty big, so we're making them pretty big today to start out with, and I'll make a couple that are relatively small just so you can see those too. Now that will actually start to brown around the edges, and because you've got 2 tablespoons of bacon grease and 2 tablespoons of butter in here, you should have enough surface depth here for that not to stick. But if it does start to feel stuck, then you may just want to let it cook just a little bit longer, and then it'll tend to release on its own. So we're gonna see if he's ready. Not quite. And see, look, I told y'all it's tricky. And sometimes I fail, but you'll find that if you just keep sticking with it, and I'm gonna add just a little bit of water to my cornmeal mix because I may have it just a tad too thick. And that's the thing, on any given day, you can't really tell if your cornmeal is gonna thicken or if it's going to stay thin. But these pieces right here that break like that, they are just fine. They eat just fine. So don't get disheartened if when you turn it over like I did, it breaks, because not all things in cooking are a failure. I mean, they're not, because this guy is gonna taste wonderful no matter if it's broken or not. And they only need to cook just a minute or two on each side. And then we are gonna take them up and then drain them on a paper towel. So I'm gonna take him up, and see, he almost came back together. And I'm going to let him drain and then just turn my heat down just a little bit. And then I'm going to get my next cake ready. And my grease is smoking a little bit. So I got a little less cornmeal mixture this time. And I'm gonna do 2 of them. A little smaller. My grease is a little hot, but that's okay. See the bubbling effect that we're getting? That is what causes those beautiful holes that make lace cornbread a real wonderful, just snappy bite in your mouth. They're crispy all the way through, and you get just enough cornbread. Danny likes them with buttermilk. And they're also good crumbled up in peas. So just that fast. And the smaller you make them, the quicker they'll cook. It's almost like a cornbread pancake, if you will. All right, now I think we're good on our heat now. And that's another thing too. If you get your heat too hot like I had it, then just turn it off and then just move those guys around. Now this recipe is just a small amount. And there is the smoke alarm. Yay! I have a sensitive smoke alarm, and thank goodness for that. Can you imagine how concerned you would be if it did not go off? And now the dogs are upset. But the 2 tablespoons of bacon grease and the 2 tablespoons of the butter actually are just enough to make this 1 cup serving, and it makes anywhere from about 6 to 10 good size pieces of lace cornbread. And see what I mean? You might not do so well on the first one, but then you kept with it, so you keep going and you learn a little finesse, and then before long you have these perfect little bites of lacy cornbread, and they are awesome. I can't begin to tell you how wonderful they are. You're just gonna have to try them for yourself. All right, so I'm gonna let those 2 cook just a little bit longer, and then I'm gonna turn him over. So we're gonna take these up while that last one I just did finishes cooking, and I'm gonna let these kind of cool, and then I'm gonna turn my heat off and let this one just hang out just a little while in the pan. Now, you can certainly double this recipe if you need to make a large mess of these. However, you want to make sure that you keep an eye on your grease and that you have enough. So I would just add grease about a tablespoon at a time and let that grease recover so that you can end up with these beautiful, oh, and I mean, you can almost see through it. Beautiful medallions of lace cornbread. They are fantastic. They are not doughy whatsoever. And Danny, if you want to just, well, hold on, let me turn this, move this out of the way. And then you can pan overhead and we can show everybody how pretty they are from overhead. and you can almost see straight through them, and they are just wonderful, crispy confection that you and your family will love. So if you want a simple yet slight challenge in the kitchen, we invite you to try this lace cornbread along with many of our other simple Southern recipes. This, like all of our recipes, can be found at thebutteredhome.com, and we hope you'll give us a visit over there. Be sure, if you're not already, that you hit that subscribe button on our channel and make sure that you ding the bell so that you can be notified when we drop videos like this one. Also, we would love to have you on our social media channels at Facebook and Instagram, and the links for that are here. And we cook live there every Monday night. We'll be doing this live, and I hope that we'll have the very same thing happen there that we did here, so that you can see that everything is not necessarily a fail in the kitchen. You just keep trying. So if you want to learn how to just do wonderful tricks and tips in the kitchen, we hope that you'll stay with us, and we hope that you enjoy what we are preparing here for you. And as always, from the buttered home to your home, we love y'all. Bye.